Hi everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel for Nataliesdiary.ca. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I will be reading Between a Dock and a Hard Place. If you haven't read the sister story, A Bittersweet 16, you might want to start there. It will help you understand the characters a little bit better. However, you are welcome to just enjoy this story on its own as well. Without further ado, here is Between a Dock and a Hard Place. The remainder of July was spent agonizing over times of day to collect kisses with Steve in the burger shack, the ice cream freezer, and crouch behind the deli counter when customers turned their back. A renaissance was taking place, and I felt the true joy that goes along with being seen. I was becoming someone different from the girl who had begged for his attention. My extroverted good nature was impossible to quell, and those around me shook their heads and laughed at my obvious infatuation, both with my new self and with Steve. Desperate to explore each other further, Steve and I planned to get together after work with our respective best friends, Moira and Alan. There was one caveat: my early curfew of 11 p.m. The questionable itinerary would run as follows. 9 p.m. Finish work. Rush home and cram 4 sizable pieces of asparagus in my mouth. Wash feet that had been sweating in boat shoes for 8 hours. Cleanliness is next to godliness, after all. 9:30 p.m. Steve and Alan pick Moira and I up dockside. The night was hot and humid. My arm would touch Steve's during the ride, causing our skin to stick momentarily, as if to suggest, you should stay stuck. 9:45 p.m. Arrival at Alan's cottage. Spend a whirlwind hour with my crush and somehow peel myself away from his icy blue eyes and sandy blonde hair. He always smelled like sweet campfire with a hint of musk. 9:45 p.m. Unwilling split. Depart Alan's cottage and arrive back at mine at promptly 11:05. I would apologize profusely for being late. Parents would be annoyed, but it would be good enough. 11:11 p.m. Relish in fantasy. Moira and I would have a sleepover and gush for hours before finally drifting to sleep in a haze of dopamine. What actually happened? We arrived at Alan's cottage a little after 10, and I panicked as the clock unfairly marched towards curfew. Moira and I sat on a surprisingly well-turned-down bed in Alan's cabin while the boys stretched out masculinely in chairs to the side. We took turns breathing in sweet, fragrant tobacco from a hookah and began drinking from a bottle of red. My heart skipped and sank like a smooth rock against the lake after checking the time on my trendy hot pink flip phone, you know the one, which vexingly read 10:30 p.m. I began to feel lightheaded from the wine, the generous pulls of tobacco, and having only 4 stalks of asparagus in my stomach. Working quickly, I asked if Steve could show me another bathroom, which was fortuitously located in another cabin altogether. I gave him my hand and let him lead me through the still, hot night, while solar lanterns guided our careful steps. I entered the bathroom and closed the door while Steve waited on the other side. I scrutinized myself in the mirror, shook my head, knowing that I was tipsy from the half glass of wine I drank. I was also drunk with longing and conscious that I was overwrought with excitement, fear, and anxiety. I knew that there was a part of me that was still broken from him, and I prayed that my summer romance with Steve could carefully glue the pieces of me that lay vulnerable, aching, and exposed. I needed this before the proud flush came and the buzzing flies, who would surely eat the remainder of love, self-worth, and passion that remained. I creaked open the bathroom door, and we became artfully controlled, opposite poles of a magnet, desperate to cling to each other. While on top of Steve, I became everything I wanted. I was wanted. Venus, birthed from the sea, cherished, powerful, feminine. His decision to cheat and shatter my tenderly curated illusion of love had nothing to do with me. It was him all along. He was not enough. It had nothing to do with me. Steve and I were wrapped up in each other for what felt like an instant, not unlike the moment when you open your eyes after a deep sleep. Time does not exist. Yet, when I reached for my phone to check that nasty interval, the digital segments read 11:30 p.m. My anxiety spiked despite the rush of serotonin firing in my brain. I had to get home. We came to some sort of sense and hastily followed the stone path back to the cabin where Moira and Alan relaxed tranquilly around the hookah. I was alone in suffering my frantic timeline. Despite the maddening rush, Steve and I sat in the back of the speedboat in a dewy glow. We could not take our hands off of each other, and I decided that whatever wrath was about to drop, these stolen moments were well worth it. The stars glittered above us like confetti, the universe christening our union. It felt like fate. Then there was a deafening crack, suspension in air, the motor choking for water, and then a moment of silence. Finally, gravity intervened, coaxing the boat back into the water, where a giant wave drenched our party. A pearl spat out to sea. The four of us lay motionless, and we floated peacefully in the black night. The party of stars suddenly vanished. The sky was lit now only by the prudent moon. Our group was silent, and when we came to, we realized we were just outside the bay to my cottage. Alan restarted the boat and attempted to enter the bay as covertly as possible. Our band was in disbelief and relief, but dread soon cloaked us as we pulled up to the dock where my parents stood like a team of grim reapers ready to finish the job. I greeted them warmly as if we hadn't just used a dock as a ski jump. My mother's face was white and worried. The source of the deafening crack in the night was still a mystery to them. "Why are you wet?" We went swimming," I shouted and realized my ears were ringing. I turned to help Moira out of the boat, who clutched her hand close to her chest. She sustained the only injury, a blow to the hand where an abscess of blood would have to be relieved by a medical drill the following day. She kept it hidden and smiled through the pain while gently excusing herself back to her cottage for the evening. The ultimate wing woman. I slept fitfully. Dreams of dead fish floating in the bay interrupted scenes of being willfully thrown on my back, sparkles from neck to navel, sleep. When morning came, the pieces of our wrongdoing were compiled and judgment was laid. The boys spent an afternoon fixing the dock and avoiding our bay entirely, where Moira and I were to spend the rest of the summer on cottage arrest. August was spent working, and when time allowed, sneaking around nearby empty rental cabins with Steve. Nights were spent lazily soaking in DVDs of 90s dramas with Moira and awfully recounting the events of that fateful night. Moira and I knew that despite our perceived prison, we had in actuality collected a most coveted get-out-of-jail-free card. It was unreal to have escaped the other side so narrowly. Sometimes when I'm having a truly sublime day, I think maybe I am dead, as sometimes life can seem too good to be true. But the fact remained that there were experiences still waiting for us on the horizon. Suns to set and rise, skin to burn, boys to kiss. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I hope you have a fantastic Easter weekend if you celebrate that kind of thing. If not, enjoy your long weekend, live your best life, and walk your dogs. All right. Have a great day. Bye.